You would probably prefer to do some research and, things that you want to know about me, and that you wouldn't mind talking to a bot about that. But when you're really trying to convince me about something, or I'm trying to convince you about something, that's a human to human connection. And that's what human beings like doing. Whether I'm selling or whether I'm leading a team as a CEO, it's my humanity which sets me apart from the technology, right? So that's what we like to do, which means that the more time we have to do that, and the more the AI can actually take the routine and mundane work off my plate and help me do more of this, the more effective I will be as a leader, as a CEO of outreach, the more effective you will be.
I'm really excited to have Abhijit Mitra on the podcast today. He's the new CEO of Outreach, stepping up from his role as CTO, and Abhijit's passionate about using AI to help salespeople and not replace them. He's a big believer in what he calls agentic AI, focusing on giving sellers tools that enhance their strengths and simplify their daily tasks. Today, we're diving into how AI is reshaping sales, why data matters more than ever, and how Outreach is helping teams become even better at building relationships and closing deals. Welcome to the Sales Gravy Podcast, sir.
Thank you, Jeb. That summary was awesome. I would probably hire you in my marketing team any day.
All right, I'm just cut that one out, and then I'm holding that one for the rest of my life. Thank you so much for that awesome feedback. Well, look, I actually want to focus on you, agentic AI. Let's clarify what that is. I think that you are a proponent of this, a leader in the space, someone that people should be learning from. But agentic AI might sound really normal to us who talk about AI a lot, but for lots of salespeople, this isn't really something that they're thinking of quite yet, and this is the cutting edge. So, what is agentic AI, and what makes it different from automation that most of us know? And then, when you get done answering that, if you can remember, how does that affect sales teams?
The agentic AI is when the AI is actually doing some work on behalf of the human. So they're not just summarizing data for you to look at or answering questions, which is what co-pilots typically do, but they're actually acting on data and going and performing a task, a workflow, a step in a workflow on your behalf. So hopefully that's a very clear and simple description of what agentic AI is. Now, how that helps salespeople is that as sellers, you're busy doing a lot of different types of activities. You're researching, where I should focus on, who I should target, what should that content be, what's happening in the industry, what's happening to that account, what's happening in my company that I should know about. Now, that's a lot of work. What if you had an AI agent which simplifies that work for you, even does some of that work for you, and then tells you, hey, here's a customer who have warmed up. Now go have a meeting with them. How would you feel? So that's what Agentic AI can help you with.
That's a really interesting vision. So, as a seller myself, and I think this is a paradigm shift in the industry, because as a seller, those are the things that I think, in a lot of cases, bring my value to the business. That I am the one who really is out there doing the research, understanding customers, understanding what's happening inside, and selling. And there's also this dichotomy where we all complain. We all complain that we have too much to do and we can't go sell. So when you're talking about agentic AI and it's doing the tasks that allow you to have a warm, real business conversation with ease more often, that's really the value that salespeople bring. And I think that what you highlight here is that sales professionals are sometimes losing the plot. That if they're not generating new business, if they're not moving deals down the pipeline and they're not closing business, there is no extra value for being really smart about the industry that you're in. And I think that agentic AI is going to help weed out some of those people. What are your thoughts on where the sales profession, the sales force is going to go after these sort of agents are being deployed in mass?
We have a saying in outreach which says that let salespeople do what they do best and let AI do the rest.
I like that. I'm gonna put that on a board behind me.
No, what that means is that as humans, what we enjoy the most and what we add value the most in is forming human connections. So this conversation that I'm having with you, imagine you're having this with a bot. How would you feel about that?
Yeah, I wouldn't feel great. I would prefer not to have it with a bot if I could. I mean, I guess I would talk to a bot, Abhijit, if I had to, because you're pretty cool. But I would prefer the real version.
Exactly. You would probably prefer to do some research and, things that you want to know about me, and that you wouldn't mind talking to a bot about that. But when you're really trying to convince me about something, or I'm trying to convince you about something, that's a human to human connection.
Mm.
And that's what human beings like doing. Whether I'm selling or whether I'm leading a team as a CEO, it's my humanity which sets me apart from the technology, right? So that's what we like to do, which means that the more time we have to do that, and the more the AI can actually take the routine and mundane work off my plate and help me do more of this, the more effective I will be as a leader, as a CEO of outreach, the more effective you will be as as a podcast uh, star podcast persona, the more effective a seller will be in selling, making the value proposition of what they have to sell to their customers. So that's what I believe AI is going to help us do, especially with agentic AI. I'll give you another tagline. At Outreach, we say that, every seller can sell like your every rep can sell like your best rep.
Hmm.
And AI and technology helps you achieve that. So that's what our vision for the sales teams are for AI.
And you come from an interesting place, just at least from my perspective, is you come out of technology and you're into the CEO role. You've been in the C-suite for some time, and now you are at the top of the C-suite, making lots of decisions. I was just you had your wonderful people on the call, and they were letting us know that you were moving back and forth between things. And you have a lot going on. We talk a lot about AI and agents and how it's going to help salespeople, what salespeople should be afraid of, what they shouldn't be afraid of, and it's always centered on the salesperson. But a lot of the salespeople, especially at Outreach, are talking to CEOs. They're talking to people like you. How does AI and agentic AI help the prospect? And I think that when we talk about sales, one of the fundamental philosophies that we hold is that you are out there to help people. And I think that this is an interesting perspective to have because you are dealing with, I'm sure, a ton of prospecting messages all the time of people trying to meet with you. But when a salesperson gets in front of you, how would agentic AI help you as a buyer?
Yeah, I think as a buyer, agentic AI will help make sure that I'm hearing what I really want to hear.
Mm.
And it's not just noise. Like half the time when someone reaches out to me, if it's not connected to what I'm looking for, I just want to turn it off. So, so that's what agentic AI will help do. It's going to help the seller prepare better to make sure that like the content that is being used to reach out to me is actually relevant to what I'm really looking for. It's very personalized to me. It's very appropriate timing wise
Mm.
to when I want to buy something. So that's how it helps actually. Yeah.
I love that it is the vision that sales professionals should have is I've been in meetings with CEOs and I have bombed really badly. I've had a whole presentation set. I had all my talking points. I was really excited about this conversation. I got leveled up, and then I had Abhijit sitting in front of me, and I started talking, and I started pitching, and I started doing the sales call, and I could just see the whole room check out, just immediately check out because I'd missed the notes that were meant for that person. And I think that you're right. This is going to help. But one of the parts of getting it right is data. And you talk a lot about how companies skip proper data prep when they're bringing in artificial intelligence and utilizing agents. So, what kind of trouble does data done poorly look bring to a company down the road?
Yeah, it's super important actually, that you have the right data because in the end, with computer software, it's always garbage in and garbage out. So if you don't have the good data, then you're not going to get much out of it. So on this front, like what's happening in the market today, as I'm talking to CEOs, CROs, is that there's a lot of different tools that are out there in place which is making it difficult for AI to really reach the true value proposition of what it can do.
Mm.
One of the things we tell our customers is that, look, you don't need to have 10 different tools, just consolidate on outreach, because we actually, as you are having interaction with your customers, that data is actually being collected in our data cloud, and our AI engine acts on that to help you as a seller figure out what your next best action is, all the way from prospecting to working on deals to closing deals to forecasting. You don't need 10 different systems, because if you have 10 different systems, then your data is spread in 10 different systems, and the AI in none of those systems are going to be effective. So the reason why Outreach's AI agents are effective
Mm.
is because once you consolidate all the systems on Outreach, you actually have all of the data, clean data, that you can actually act on.
Well, what does clean data look like? And I know that that outreach is helping businesses do this, and there's nuance in industries and in different worlds that people work in. But just some rules of thumb that you know that outreach is helping accelerate business growth by cleaning up data. What does that look like? What does that feel like for someone who's making decisions?
Yeah, for example, when let's say, what typically most of our customers do is we sit on top of a CRM system. Okay, so your CRM system, whatever data you have in CRM, debatable how clean that is, but like whatever data you have there is synced to Outreach. Okay, now on top of that, as and when you're having conversations or you're working on opportunities, all of those activities are actually now tracked in Outreach, and that's actually very clean data because that's activity data. And so then our AI actually looks at all of that CRM data, any connected systems that you've connected to Outreach, all of the interactions and conversations that's happening within Outreach. In addition to that, any third-party signals that you may have, for example, in a Zoom Info or other systems like that, which actually can tell you what's happening out there in the market, for example, news or things of that sort, and then combine all of that data into helping you making the right next steps as you progress your deals. So that's an example of what I mean by clean data. The fact that the data is relevant and fresh to what you are doing
Mm.
at that point in time.
I think that's a really clear distinction. That data, when it's clean, it's relevant. It doesn't have to be clean in that it's clear. Every part of your data is completely siloed, and it makes sense if you just looked at it independently and in a picture. But if you're a salesperson, if you're a CEO and you're looking at your sales team and you want to make them more effective, okay, is the information actually relevant to helping them win more deals, or is it a hindrance? And
Yeah.
I think that uh, there's a lot of people in the marketplace. This is my thoughts, my personal perception of this. So don't fact check me on it. But there are a lot of leaders who are afraid of bringing in artificial intelligence, AI, because there are so many unknowns. And I think that most people in the business world are probably accepting that AI is going to be part of the future, but they're trying to pick what's going to be part of their future. And they have a lot of anxiety around these new tools. What would you tell people in addition to what you've talked about with clean data that would help them wrap their minds around agentic AI for their sales force and for their business?
I have a lot to say on this topic.
Yes, I'm so
Um,
glad.
but let me say a few things. For example, like what I'm seeing in a lot of companies today is that there is a huge focus on using AI. And so there's budget that's been unlocked. So the first step is to go buy a bunch of tools and see, figure it out. And that actually doesn't always work because you know the when you have a bunch of tools and you're figuring it out, getting all of that tool set to work together in a very secure way is a challenge,
Hmm.
is a huge challenge. um, so instead I tell customers that, look, we are the technologists, so we are figuring it out for you. Let us do what we are good at, and let us bring to you an end-to-end solution where we have thought through who has access to what data, what kind of prompt engineering would you need to make sure that you're not sending sensitive information to the LLMs outside of your company, things of that sort. how is that AI integrated to your end-to-end workflow step? Because the problem is if you have these AI tools operating in silos, you're not really getting the value from it either. Because in the end, what you're doing is an end-to-end workflow. So what we are doing instead, and this actually addresses your question also, is we are taking steps in that workflow which are best suited for the agentic AI and using our AI agents to automate that.
Mm.
Because not everything can actually be done by AI agents. It's only those steps in the workflow. So putting it together, making it secure, having the guardrails in place is what we are bringing to the market. And that I think what the market really needs, not just us, other companies who are doing it like us, that's really what the market needs to make sure that the fear of AI going berserk and doing things doesn't happen.
I think that as someone who's in sales, and one of the hardest things to translate to a customer, especially in a marketplace that's up in the air with a lot of chaos, there's lots of players, it's being flooded by lots of companies, is that there are businesses like Outreach and you and your team that are going to a buyer and a C-suite executive and a small business owner, and you're saying, look, when you bring in a bunch of AI on your own because you think you can do it on your own, you end up getting into a place where you've spent a lot of money, and you realize later on that even though you figured out how to do it on your own with all these different programs, those programs don't talk to each other. And I doubt that you can get across that line without some help. And what we're telling you is that when you come to a business like Outreach or any other organization that has the mission of, we're teaching you how to use it right, but we do the work for you to build it right. And that's a really big distinction for, I think, people listening to this podcast. When you go and look at AI as a tool for your business, you need to find someone like Outreach that is going to take the time to learn about you and then build it for you and help you implement it right. It'll save you a bunch of time and money. I've gotten on my soapbox a little bit here. Sorry, I got a little bit on the on the sales train of what it means to really work with somebody who's going to take care of you. I'm sure you had this experience in the past. You're a CEO. I'm sure you're doing a lot of selling yourself. Just by nature, what are those conversations sounding like for you?
Conversation sounding for me with my customers today, like what am I
Right.
hearing from my customers? Yeah, so I'm hearing a lot of challenges with our customers around their tech stack. There's many different like in the in the heydays of the tech boom a couple of years ago, people went and bought anything they could lay their hands on, and so now they're like really struggling with it, like making sense out of it.
Hmm.
So there's a consolidation of system that is going to happen. I'm hearing a lot of challenges around, hey, you know what? AI is something I really want to make use of, but I don't know how. And my IT organization is really helping me. They're trying to figure it out. Can you work with them? And the fact that, hey, everybody's coming to me and telling me that we do this and we do this. We are the only one who does this. So who is actually doing it? Who is just putting it on the presentation is very confusing for me. So Abhijit, can you help me with that? So those are some of the things that we're hearing from our customers. And to them, we say that, look, you know who Outreach is. We are your trusted advisor. We are here. We take ownership for what we do, and obviously, we want to win. What we want to win with our customers. By the way, these are our three company values: being a trusted advisor, win as a team, and taking ownership. And so, in the end, it all ties into what our purpose is, and our purpose as a company is, we say, unleash your best performance. That's what we are here for. And so we will help you in this journey. We may not be able to solve all these problems that you just told me, but hopefully we can solve some of it and get to most of it with time.
So going back to the conversation around agentic AI, and what activities do you envision sales professionals having done for them that would make them more efficient with prospects and with their own business?
Yeah. So what we are doing is we are taking parts of the workflow that we think is best suited for agentic AI. And then we're creating agents and we're launching those agents one after the other. So the first one that we're doing is a prospecting agent.
Mm.
And what that does is it basically figures out who are the companies and the people in those companies based on what your ICP is and what your sales plays are that you want to target, and then gives you the list and then helps you write the content and actually reaches out to them and warms them up and hands you over like warmed up leads. That's what that thing does. The next one that we are working on is what we call the research agent. We just focus on the researching and enrichment of with data for accounts and prospects and contacts.
Mm.
The next one that we are thinking about is a meeting agent, which, for example, you did a meeting. Now, at the end of the meeting, the AI can actually summarize everything, take your notes, your follow-ups, update your opportunities, do all of that stuff for you. And the next one that we're thinking of that we are very excited about is a compete agent. For example, you are hearing of all these competitors being mentioned in different conversations, and you're winning a few, you're losing a few. So what can the compete agent come and derive out of all of these conversations and tell you that, hey, this is what you need to do to win every time? So these are
Wow.
ideas that we are experimenting with. Some of them we have launched, some of them we are still working on. And there are more and more and more and more of such things that we're working on, that we believe that each of these would actually help every seller become your best seller, like I said before, and every sales organization perform at its optimum.
I can't wait. It sounds like it will make my life so much easier, and I can't wait for these agents to help warm up the prospects, help me prepare better, get all my data right, and then through my CRM, help me understand what to do next. And when you enable people with some good direction, with the tools they need, they always perform better. Abhijit, thank you so much for joining us on the Sales Gravy podcast. We really appreciate you being here. Where can people learn more about you and Outreach?
Well, if you want to learn more about me and Outreach, go to outreach.io. We are launching our AI agents very soon. So you're going to see a lot of noise about that. And I love to hear from you. And I love to hear what more you'd like Outreach to do for you.
Awesome. Abhijit, thank you so much for joining us on the Sales Gravy podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Thank you for having me here, Jeb.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to click like and subscribe so you never miss a single video. And if you want more sales training content, go to learn.salesgravy.com.